Hello everyone. Today I have some new hammock line to share with you. This is like 7/64 am steel from Samson Ropes, but it's a little different. So it's yarn dyed instead of dyed with the urethane. So it's super easy to splice, and if you're making lots of soft shackles and stuff, it doesn't rub off on your hands. So this is something that always happens to me. My hands don't get any color with this stuff. So it's super easy to splice because there's no urethane coating and the strands open up really easily. So if you're doing like whoopee slings or you're making little Evo loop knots, super easy to work with. And even though it doesn't have a coating, it seems to be pretty good at handling abrasion. So this is my sample piece that I've had for a few months that I've been using, and it's staying pretty nice and bright yellow. What I'm noticing about it is it doesn't pick up a lot of dirt and bark particles inside of the fiber. So it's pretty interesting stuff. And I'm going to have this available in some different lengths. I just have blue, yellow, and black, and this coyote tan. But this black stuff, this is where I'm really excited. Black am steel is terrible with the dye. Like, it wears off, and then but with this stuff, it's like it stays on there, and it seems to be holding up to UV really well, and it's super easy to splice. Like, let me just show you. So, say you're gonna do like a whoopee sling berry. The braid just opens up because there's no stickiness with the urethane. Now, don't go thinking you need to throw out your am steel or anything, but I'm just giving you a quick demonstration. Like, this stuff splices up so easy, and it seems to hold knots pretty well too. Like the urethane coating on like Dynaglide and Amstel 7/64 helps it hold knots, but this stuff seems to do pretty good. And so now I want to give you also an update on doing daisy chain with your am steel. So consider just using, like I've done here, knots. So this right here is just a figure 8 knot. Makes a nice little stopper knot in line. And this one is a double overhand knot. And so the reason for that is here's how I showed you guys to do it in a previous video with this triple pass splice. And it works really good, but I'm starting to notice that this part of it right here that's opened up, these outer pieces really get abrasion on them. Like, that's one of the reasons I started making these plastic buttons to help with that. But right there, so a couple of the daisy chains I made, they started losing strands right there, and I don't think it's a huge issue. I don't. This is still fine to do, but it doesn't work as great as I thought it did. And what it creates is kind of like with a whoopee sling. If you've ever noticed, the whoopee sling has that large adjustable loop, and then there's always the exit strand, kind of like right here. And then these strands right here on the exit of a whoopee sling, they take more stress than the strands back here. So that's kind of what's happening. But whoopee slings don't fail very often either. So I'm not saying it's a super big deal, but it's just something I noticed. And if you do daisy chains with the knots, it works really good for like almost everything. Like, here is one of my universal loops. So if you have a universal loop on the end of your hammock, you can just connect it right to where one of those knots are. You can also do this. Take your universal loop, flip a loop into it, and then have your daisy chain, your knotted daisy chain. And then it's going to go up against the knot and support your hammock. But you have this cool little loop to free it from the knot and then go to your next adjustment, wherever that might be. Yeah. So yeah, just consider using these knots instead. I'm thinking it's going to work a lot better. I've been trying it out with a bunch of different stuff. I got these aluminum buttons that I like to use instead of the titanium ones, and they just kind of, they end up locking up in there like that, right up against the knot. And so all of the strands of the knot, this length of am steel in here, that takes the little bit of abrasion and stress instead of putting it right on these two strands right here. Or there's 4 strands on either side, and then when we get a toggle in there to hold it, those strands get pushed outward, and then the edge of the toggle, whichever side it's on, rubs against them. I mean, if you're using like a knot, if you're using a knot for your toggle, it's probably going to very much reduce the wear. If you're using one of these plastic ones that I have, these are plastic, but they're polyester resin, so they're highly resistant to UV and other degradation. Let's see, these lock up in there like almost perfectly, especially when you're on the thin part of the 2 strands. But you can see what I'm talking about. It pushes those 4 strands against whatever you're using. So just something I thought I'd share with you guys. Using the knots works perfectly fine. You can put a bunch of figure 8 knots in 2 pieces like this, and just hang it first. Like hook it to the tree and put some weight on it down at the end, like maybe down at the end right here, to get the knots all cinched up, so that you don't get like something where you have it, the 2 knots like this, and then one strand is way looser, because that's what will happen if you just hang on it immediately. But here's what I do for the knot that I like the best. Just doing a figure 8 knot like this, and then dressing it up. So I got the figure 8 knot, and then I'm going to dress it up so the strands are going parallel. Get it looking as good as possible, and then slowly pull it tight with my thumb and forefinger, and then go and hang on it. Wrap it around the tree and give it a nice pull, and then it'll yield this nice looking knot for you. There's actually a company that does daisy chain suspension like that with a Dyneema and knots, so it's not anything super crazy new. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Daisy chain with knots is totally doable. It works really well. Just set them up really good first, squeeze them up with your hands, and then throw it around the tree and give it a good pull. And I have some new line for you. This yarn dyed stuff, it doesn't fade, doesn't collect dirt, and it doesn't turn your hands blue. So I'll have some of this available. Find me in the community page, and I'll give out some samples, and talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.